In the last video, we covered everything you needed to know about using the Sketch and Stipple panel in Silhouette Studio. We went over the different pen adapters that you can use in your Silhouette machines, and it was kind of just a masterclass of using the Sketch feature in Silhouette. What we did not cover was all of the things that could go wrong in a Sketch project. That's what we're looking at today. We're going to try to be better prepared for our projects, keeping in mind the type of pens that we're using, the designs that we're using, and how they're going to come together in the final project. Hi, I'm Brenda Lambert. I am a TJC licensed instructor for Silhouette. If you're new to the page, we cover all kinds of tips and tricks and tutorials, and we do some inspirational projects, all of the things here. So if you are new, welcome to the channel. I do hope you're going to stick around for all of the goodies we have coming up in 2025. Now let's start out by taking a look at the different pens and markers that I have been using lately. The first set that I worked with were these metallic colored pens. They do work well. They show up great on black cardstock. They have a metallic shine to them, just a bit of glitter in there, and they do look really nice. I got the set of 30. There is a nice variety of colors in there, lots to choose from. Now the tip on these is 1 millimeter. A little bit hard to see there, but it is not really a fine tip pen. And the problem that you're going to run into with that is that you can't do very intricate designs. You need to stick with something a little bit more basic. I think this turned out beautifully with those markers. These, not so much. The insides of the letters kind of got smushed all together, and it's a little bit hard to read. Not impossible, but not great. I was choosing color schemes here, as you can see on the side, but the simpler design looks best with these markers. You want single line fonts and very thin designs in order for the details to look right. Now I did the To the Moon and Back here with my Jelly Roll pens. I wanted it done in pink, but the pink that I had wasn't really showing up well on the black cardstock. That is my only issue with the Jelly Roll pens. So what I did with these is I put down a white base and then went over it with the pink. So that worked, but it took me 2 times sketching it to get that effect. The Jelly Roll pens are thin. I don't have the package anymore, so I don't know the thickness of the tip. You can see that all the letters are legible and the detail in the design is defined. It looks really good with the Jelly Roll pens. Next up, we're going to try these colored pens by Shuttle Art. This came in a decent package. It's a little bit flimsy, but there's 30 colored pens here. They're arranged nicely by color. And I did try a couple of these out earlier, but let's get some out and make some squiggles to see how they do. I am going to be doing a Valentine's Day card, so I'm wanting to use pink. And that does show up really nice. I am having a heck of a time getting it to show on camera, but in person it does show up well. There's the white. None of these seem to be dried out, which is awesome. Sometimes when you order these pen sets that show up on black cardstock, you get a few that are dried out. There's more of a red color there. I'm going to try to get a better shot of this so you can see what it actually looks like, because my camera is not doing it any justice at this point. Going in at a different angle, those are the Sun Shylore markers. They are the 1 millimeter markers, and they are a bit thick to do intricate designs with. And right there is the Shuttle Art pens, and you can see they are showing up really nicely on the black cardstock. So either one of these sets will do well on the black cardstock. It just depends on what you're looking to do. If you have a large design with a lot of fill area, you're going to want to go with more of a marker. If you have something that is thin with some detail, you're going to want jelly pens. And I will link all of these pens in the description below. Now let's take a look at some designs that we can create for a greeting card for Valentine's Day. These Valentine's Day rainbows are pretty cute. I would probably use a marker for these. It does have the thicker lines. This one here is super cute. It's for Galentine's Day, and I would use a pen for this. Now, something like this is going to take a very long time to fill in, but it might be worth it in the end. That's a really cute design. These are on Creative Fabrica's website, and I can put a link into the description below for these as well. A lot of these look like shirt designs, and I'm looking for a thinner one that would be good for the pens. This one here says Be Mine with the tic-tac-toe. That would probably work well with the pens, depending on how large you're going to have your design. This heart would be a bit much to fill in, but the font is pretty thin and you have these details at the end of the X's. But when you're looking for a design, you want to keep in mind if you're going to be using a pen or a marker, because it really is going to affect the outcome of the design. In short, if you're using a marker, something like this would probably be good. These letters are relatively thick and they would have to be filled in. Something like this would probably do better with the pen because it has a lot of thin details. Let's go over to Silhouette Studio for just a minute. These are the files that I was playing around with when I was working with the markers and the pens, and you can see that this is a single line font. This is Slinky Fabric single line. This is from Creative Fabrica, and the fancier font is Amsterdam, again from Creative Fabrica. We're not going to spend too much time in the software today, but I did want to show you a way that you can fill in designs without using the sketch and stipple panel. This is going to save a little bit of time with the sketching process. Let's move that out of the way. Grab these and set it on our design mat. Let's go ahead and switch this over to black so we can see a little bit better. And I'm going to duplicate this so that I have a copy. Now, in order to be able to see this a little bit better, I am going to scale that out just a little bit. And I'm going to group all of these pieces together. And you can see, even though this is a very thin font, there are places in this design that could use a little bit of fill. And normally we would go to the sketch and stipple panel, and that's what I showed you in the last video. Each one of these fill patterns makes little tiny lines inside of the design, and sometimes it comes down to just a tiny dot filling this in. And the machine has to make each and every one of those little lines and dots within the border of the design. And it takes a long time, depending on the pattern, of course, and the area that you need to fill. However, if you go to the offset panel instead of sketch and stipple, we can get this done in a little bit less time. Our design is selected and we can click on internal offset, and you can see that it is now going to fill in the bottom part of the heart just a little bit. Let's bring the distance down. As we bring the distance down, you can see it starts to fill in some of the letters as well. I'm going to stick with the distance of 0.025 for this one and click apply. Now I'm going to group all of these pieces together before I click off of them, because selecting them all once they're unselected is a nightmare. So let's group those. They're going to stay nice and tidy that way. Now I'm going to create another internal offset, and this internal offset is going to be an offset of the first offset. So we're getting smaller here, and it's filling in this gap. We can click apply, and you can see there are a few different areas that it's still working on. Let's right click and group those together and go ahead and do that again. Click apply. That time there is only one bounding box, so there's nothing to group, and I think that that is going to be filled in enough to complete the design. This does take a little bit of practice, and it takes a little bit of time in the software, but it's going to save you a ton of time as far as the actual sketching with the machine goes. I've selected all of those offsets in the original design. Now I'm going to right click and group those together. We can set our line color back to pink and bring our rectangle in. This rectangle is going to be another layer to the card. This will be my card base. This is going to be the piece of cardstock that I'm sketching on. So let's select our design and shrink that down so that it fits on top of here. We can zoom in on it, and you can see the path that the pens are going to take. I think this is going to fill in nicely, but again, this does take some trial and error. Let's fit this back to the window. We can select the rectangle and the design and center that. And that's not going to work because I did not convert my text to path. If you're trying to center a design with text in it and it's not cooperating, you can select the whole thing, right click and convert to path, and you can see that the size of the bounding box changed. That's because it doesn't need to account for letters going below or above the actual bounding box now. This is no longer text, this is now a design. So we can select both pieces and center them again. And now we know it is right in the middle. Let's move this over here. Now, as far as the card base goes, I just took a rectangle and drew it out to 7 inches wide by 10 inches high, and I created the score line in the middle. This is not the pattern that I'm going to be using. I just stuck a fill pattern in here so that I would know that it was going to be cut from pattern cardstock. You could do a print and cut project with this. If you have a pattern that you like, just print it out on white cardstock using the print and cut feature. Let's go over to the send page. I think this is just about ready for us to start sketching. Now, because I was playing around with these designs earlier, my sketch pattern is set to use tool number 2. I'm using the pen holder type C in the Cameo 5, so this is the one that I want to use. The outline of the rectangle is set to use tool number 1, and that will be my auto blade. I have my Cameo 5 selected here. For tool holder number 1, I am going to cut it out of cardstock, textured heavy 80 pounds. It is set to cut and the auto blade is detected. This all looks good. Let's go over to tool holder number 2. My material is set to cardstock plain. It is going to sketch and my pen holder is detected. So we can load our media into the machine and then send it through. These pens are quite skinny. I am using the small collar on the pen adapter, and I have my cap for the bottom so that it does not go too far in. I'm just going to set that in there and tighten it down. Again, we want to remember not to tighten too much. If you tighten it too much, it's going to crack this housing here, and then it's going to be no good. Just tighten it till the pen is stable in there. I think that's going to be okay. And take the cap off now. Set it in tool holder 2 and push in the tab. It is going to cut the rectangle out first, and then it will move on to the sketch part. And I'm excited to see how this fill is going to go. I may have gotten it filled in too much. We'll have to wait and see. But again, this is a lot faster than doing all those teeny tiny dots to fill in your design, because it's following the curve of the letters for the most part. There are some spots where it's just a little dash or a line here and there, but for the most part you can see that it is doing big sweeping lines. The Shuttle Art pens are really passing the test here. There's no skipping of lines, no blank spots, and it is showing up so nicely on this black cardstock. I would recommend purchasing these pens. I don't know if they're going to outdo the Jelly Roll or not. I might have to order some Jelly Rolls and do a head-to-head competition with these two. We'll see. The cut on this looks really good, so we can go ahead and unload our mat. And here is the sketch. It looks absolutely amazing. I do love this. Now for the card base, I'm going to choose a piece of cardstock out of this patterned pack. This is from Michaels, but I got it last year, so I don't know if this is still available this year or not, but everything in here is really well coordinated, so you can mix and match and all of the good things. If you are going to be using cardstock, I highly recommend Michaels Recollection pads. My only complaint is that they are not double-sided. I like the double-sided packs better, but the quality on these is really nice. When I'm doing a card like this, I like to make sure that the pattern is going to look okay whether it's upside down or right side up, because I'm doing the fold on it lengthwise instead of up and down, so the pattern has to look right on both sides. The pink pen that I used is a little bit on the lighter side. I probably should have chosen a darker one. I do like this one. It has this at the top. We can take some measurements real quick and see if this is going to work or not. And it's not. We need 10 inches. And I've got about 9 1/4 to work with before this little bit interferes with the back of the card. I think this one is nice because it doesn't matter if the hearts are right side up or not. They're kind of just scattered like a confetti. Let's go ahead and use this for our card base. I do want the back of the card to have a lot of these hearts on it, so I'm going to place my card base design in the upper right hand corner of the design mat, and that way all of these will be on the back of the card, and I will have the front of the card to place my top layer with the sketch. Back in Silhouette Studio, we can go up to design. Let's group this together so it stays in place. We can set that off to the side and bring our card base on. I'm going to get it as close to that corner as I can while still staying within the red cut border. Now we can go over to the send page again. My card base is lit up in red. That means it's going to cut with the auto blade. My blue line is set to tool number 2. We need to switch our pen holder out for the embossing tool. Okay, now the embossing tool is detected. It is set to auto emboss, but there's the warning that there's no compatible emboss action for this material. I'm just going to switch this over to one of my user defined settings. I'm going with emboss Cameo 5. Let's click on that. The warning has went away, so now this blue line will emboss and the red line will cut, and we should be ready to send this through. That did cut well. We can unload our mat. This has a nice foil finish on it. There's our score line. So now that's the back of the card, filled nicely with hearts. And our sketched message is going to go on the front. Now I did want to add some double-sided foam tape to this, but it appears that I am out. And I am also out of black foam sheets, so I cannot make any either. So we're going to sacrifice some of the dimension here and just go with double-sided adhesive tape. My son is welcome to use anything in the craft room that he wants to use. I love that he loves to do these little projects, but it's not so great when I don't have what I need to finish a project. Now the front is adhered to the card base. You can also use the Silhouette machines to write your sentiment inside. I would do that before you fold on the line and definitely before you put your front on the card. You would just need to line the sentiment up in the Silhouette software and place your card face down on your mat, sketch it out, and then it would be ready to go. Now we've went through all of that. We've got our card put together successfully, and I hope that you take away from this video that you need to plan ahead. Even if you have everything perfect in Silhouette Studio, there are other variables that could definitely go wrong. For the sketch feature in Silhouette Studio, make sure that your pen is going to align well with your design. Make sure that your paper is going to play nice with your pen, and so on and so forth. Test the variables out before you start the project, and you are going to have a lot less frustration in the end. Now go create something amazing. I'll see you in the next video.